right, guys. So, episode, what is this? 19. Why don't I just look this up before we start? Oh yeah, there we go. Why don't I just look this up before we start? So let's see. What episode are we at? This is 19? No, because I have 19 recorded in my computer, which we got to get today. So this is 20.
Okay.
Yeah, this is 20.
20 and 2020.
Oh, wow, look at that. What's the thing I heard the other day? 2020 vision for 2020. 2020 has been a fucking ass kicking. Good for real estate, though.
So it turns out.
Kind of like, so, like today, we usually wait to the last minute to figure out what we're going to talk about. But today was a completely different extreme. We were completely talking.
Today took the cake.
Yeah, today Leo says, hey, ladies, you ready? And we said, oh, shit, what are we going to talk about? So, you know what I've been thinking? We should start talking about something that's gonna keep us in the I guess trending, right? Because that's where we're supposed to be trending, right? Yeah. We start looking at real estate news. One of the news that I saw that's real estate related. So it kind of came to me yesterday. I was in my son's practice, and some guy sat next to me. He goes, "Man, I was thinking about you when I read this. Taxes are in New Jersey they jacked up taxes for millionaires, or that's what they call it, but it's probably for everybody. And that's going to be great news for the article actually said that's great news for Florida real estate.
Sure.
So then today I went on Instagram. I saw one of the jiu-jitsu guys, this guy Ryan Gordon, one of the bigger jiu-jitsu guys that's actually making money. He's like, I'm out of this exact words, I'm out of this shithole. As soon as I finish this next competition, I'm moving out of this shithole. Man, in my lifetime, there's never been a time where politics has so directly influenced Florida real estate. Either I'm getting older and I'm more involved, but I really don't think so, because I think that this political climate that we're having right now is so partisan. It's there's no gray area. It's very black and white, no pun intended, and you can't. I don't even know if you can say black and white anymore. But it's happening with California. It's happening with people are leaving from California in droves to Texas. Mm-hmm. People from Washington, I think, are moving to the Carolinas or something like that. I mean, that's what I heard. So,
and what's interesting thing is it's actually turning those states, the mix in those states, more blue.
Yeah,
because they're very blue states that are moving to typically red states. Yeah. So it creates an interesting thing. I mean, what you're seeing is very much almost what you saw in the Jim Crow era, with blacks migrating to the north where there were more job opportunities. You now have a migration of wealth largely from these places because the opportunities are being squelched and they're being penalized. I mean, look, there's no other way to look at a tax than as a penalty.
Yeah.
You're paying a penalty, and you're paying an increasing penalty for generating wealth. Now, I get the idea that these folks need to contribute. I'm not besmirching that, but what's different is the amount of mobility that exists. How easy it is to pick up your ball and go play at a different ball field.
Yeah.
And politicians miss this. They think that they can continue to force their will on people, and people will continue to behave the exact same way.
Well, look, I think the title, look, we don't even have to think about titles right now. I think the title is politics running real estate. I mean, and right now, listen, in Florida, our world would be absolutely completely different if this guy, what's his name, the guy who got caught with the hooker, with the male hooker, and the soiled. It was drugs, soiled sheets, and a gay hook and a male hooker. Gillum, if he would have been the governor right now, okay, or if we would have had a radical mayor like they did in like they do in Seattle, I mean, would we be what we are right now? Would this market be flourishing with rates, with whatever it is? Would it be enough?
Well, I mean,
and I don't think so.
Well, of course not, because in a lot of the places you mentioned, California, for instance, real estate, it didn't fall under the heading of being a necessary
It did not.
It did not.
I did
A
not know
lot of
that.
places it was. I don't know about California specifically, but there were a lot of places where real estate was shut down. And so we didn't have.
I didn't even know that, and I didn't even think of that. Yeah, in Florida, we were an essential business.
Essential. That's
business. Yeah,
I always forget.
An essential business. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I heard it, and I was like, no shit.
Really?
Like, I'm not getting my ass kicked this time. You know what I mean? Like, wait a second. I'm gonna be like spared from the ass kicking this time.
How did I get in the VIP
How did
lounge?
Yeah. How am I at the right place at the right time? You know what I mean? So
that never happens.
Never, man. Never.
And so, I mean, the thing is, the damage these folks are doing. I mean, New York's numbers have been super
crime.
Well, but let's just talk cases number, right? Their cases number has been way down for quite a while now. They're just now opening restaurants at 25%.
Yeah.
I mean, down here they have, I think, tried to do a very good job of balancing out. They're going to sit there and say, well, Florida has 600 and some odd thousand cases. Florida, I think the number I looked at it today was like a 13,000 deaths out of a state of 22 million people, right? They've done a pretty good job of balancing out the cost in lives from COVID deaths and, you know, reported COVID deaths, which that number may be in fact be inflated, but whatever. Let's say it's not. And the actual harm that's caused, the actual death that's caused, the actual pain and suffering that's caused by being shut down more than is absolutely necessary. They look at it as like, it's almost like a chemotherapy thing. Yeah. Like chemotherapy is poisoning your body to try to kill something else that's in there that's worse.
Yeah.
You know, we have two bad options, but this one is less bad than this one. And so I think that's more of a balanced approach. And I think that's what people are responding to, that they would like some gray area, some nuance.
But then you get California where, I mean, this is the stuff that you're hearing from California, and that, I mean, politicians are okay with it. There's over 100,000 homeless people. Mm-hmm. Okay. In San Francisco alone, there's a huge epidemic of people, and again, this is going to sound, you know, especially people who know me, they're going to sound like I'm joking, but there's a huge epidemic of humans shitting on the streets.
Yep.
So much so that there's an application necessary to track the shit. Okay, just like in what country was it that I heard the other day that there's an app? Oh no, not even a country, in Chicago. Let's talk about another place. There's an app like a Waze or like a GPS app that mm-hmm. tells you where the shootings are, so you could avoid them. Mm-hmm. So it's no longer how fast can you get from point A to point B. It can, you know, just stay alive. If it takes you another 20 minutes, that's fine, as long as you don't get shot. So, you know, and that's again because, you know, politicians there are soft and they're turning a great city into a shithole. California, San Francisco, you know, I've never been to San Francisco, so this is what I'm hearing. There's like a bridge.
No, I was there recently.
And did you see any people shitting or no?
No, two people got mugged. While I was there, I literally walked from my hotel to the other hotel where the event I was having. The police were arresting one guy there, and then we were in the class. One of the people that was supposed to come to the class got delayed because somebody grabbed her purse and stole it.
Right.
I mean, and I was there for a day.
Right. So now you're turning a state that was, I mean, it was the epicenter for entertainment and Silicon Valley and all that stuff like that. I mean, let me tell you that what's happening right now with entertainment leaving there, Silicon Valley's already starting to talk about, you know, people are wanting to, you know, get away and everything. If Silicon Valley, these guys, these nerds end up leaving there, and the entertainment people say, fuck this, I'm gonna, you know, we could do this somewhere else, especially in today's world where the internet and this and that place will never recover from it. It could, but it could take decades for it to recover.
Let's be honest. What California has going for it is the climate.
Phenomenal climate.
And they have a huge coastline. And so, you know, but at the same time, they've done everything they can to make it as expensive and difficult to live there as they possibly can. Yeah. I mean,
and not worth it though. That's the thing.
And even the thing with, I mean, the last thing that I think we've talked about on one of the podcasts was, you know, Sacramento requiring all new homes to have solar panels. Well, the problem is that from the solar panels they have right now, they generate an excess of electricity that they can't get rid of. They actually sell it I take that back. They don't sell it to other states. They pay other states to take it because the other states wouldn't buy it from them. So they pay them to take it. And now they have mandated that all new homes. So it adds about $30,000 of cost to each new home. So yes, you know, in some in some way, maybe this is helping the environment. By the way, when you actually look at what benefit it does to the environment, it's so minuscule, it's not even worth talking about. I mean, like when a real adult looks at the science and says, you know, is this worthwhile? But what it does is it morally makes us feel good about ourselves
Yeah.
that we're yay. You know, I mean,
It-
the information that we get is so dirty. It's so skewed and so emotionally manipulative that it makes it very, very difficult to have a nuanced opinion. And unfortunately, what that is you now have stuff that is deep blue, deep red, and there's nothing in between. It's just a kind of a wasteland.
Yeah.
And it's troubling.
Well, I remember I do remember the first time you were actually there. The first time that politics was presented to me as an ingredient needed for a real estate transaction, let's say, or it was just part of the equation on whether a deal could get done or not, was actually at the CCIM course. One of the instructors just brought it up, and that was a long time ago already, and it stuck in my head, and I got horrible memory, you know, too much acid in high school, I guess. But you know, you know, and I remember thinking like, politics, really? Okay, you know, that kind of makes sense, but it never really resonated, and I never saw it so prominently displayed and so real right now. I mean, now we have real estate being severely affected one way or the other by politics. New York real estate is probably going to take a huge dump. Sure. Besides the office buildings that they have over there, which are, I mean, it's probably higher than most cities.
Yes.
Okay. It has to be.
It's up there.
You know, and crime being up 30-40%. Okay. Homelessness back up in the street, you know, like higher than pre-Giuliani days. And if you guys don't know, I mean, Giuliani came in. Giuliani, you could say whatever you want. If you're not a Giuliani political fan, the guy is an animal. That guy went in, got rid of the mafia, single-handedly got rid of the mafia in New York. Okay, went after them when it was real dangerous to go after the mafia. I gotta start looking into the camera when I talk over there. You know, and you know, went after homelessness, went after everything, went after crime as a whole, and then it kind of stayed like that. And now the current government there is ruining it now. And if you live in New York and you're saying bullshit. You know, we have millions of fans, of course, and you know, if one of these fans or many of these fans are in New York, and you're saying bullshit, I live here, it's not that bad. Guess what? It doesn't matter if it's that bad or not. I'm living over here, and the news is out that it's shit. So if the news is out, it doesn't really matter what the truth is. You know what I mean?
Well, unfortunately, that's become the case,
Yeah.
and the numbers are. I mean, look, if you look at the actual data, the violent crime numbers are way up, and what does that mean? Well, I mean, I don't know if you know how much New York will support, but I mean, back in the 70s, New York, you know, there was a real expectation if you went out in the streets in Manhattan, you were going to get mugged, that it was going to happen.
Right.
I mean, I have family
Well, you
members.
knew that, yeah.
You knew that.
It's part of, like you say, it was baked into the cake.
Baked into the cake. You know, it's dangerous. Literally stepping out on the street was dangerous. It shouldn't be that way. You know, and the reason why it was okay was we didn't think there was any way to fix it. Then Giuliani came in and did what was basically a miracle and turned that city that had just been let to rot, turned it around. I mean, Times Square used to be drugs, pimps, peep shows. That's what it is. Times Square, you know, the place that's like the place that people go from around the world to go hang out at. That's what it was 20 years ago. Got rid of it all, turned it, the theaters were back. Everything was thriving. Everything looks amazing. Little kids are there hanging out, right? So, yeah, I mean, I'm a New Yorker. I'm from New York. It bothers me so much because I remember going to the city in the 80s.
Yeah.
And, you know, you have these beautiful buildings from the second floor up, and on the first floor, trash, hobos laying. You have to try to walk around the hobos.
Is hobos accepted?
I hope not. I hope not. I'm so anti-SJW at this point. It's so frustrating. I mean, guys, we need to be able to be offensive with each other and not get offended. Yeah. You know, because that's the only way the dialogue can happen. The only way we can find some middle ground and actually make progress on these issues. The progress gets stalled when everybody runs to their corners and starts screaming names at each other on the other side.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's bad. It's bad for us as a people to come together. And
kind of like, let me ask you a question specifically though, real estate wise, like let's talk numbers here. Why does it make sense? So if somebody's getting their ass kicked in New Jersey with the whole taxes thing, they're in New York, you know, Well, here's the way I see it, right? So, but I want you to kind of explain to me the real details of it. Okay, so I know that somebody could sell a shit apartment for $1 million in New York. Okay, give it away, and buy a house on the water. I mean, somewhere in the central west coast of Florida,
Sure.
on the fucking water. I mean, meaning like ocean or open bay or anything like that for less.
Yes.
You know, so that makes sense. But as far as taxes are concerned, what are they? What are they? I mean, because there is the tax thing that's tipping them over. You know, and saying, dude, it just makes financial sense. It makes sense for my family now. You know, if I was living in a condominium and now, you know, they're gonna keep on shutting these things down, and I got to get through the elevator, and now living in a building just became, you know, almost impossible.
Yep.
All right, but let's talk about the tax thing. Like, what are they? What benefits are they seeing in taxes? Let's say from New York, from New Jersey, from any of these places, moving into like a place like Florida.
Well, the big thing was that thing that they talked about is in the tax cut bill from Trump. There was they removed or lessened the SALT deduction, which basically you used to be able to deduct what you were paying in state taxes from your federal taxes. So that income that you paid there, that goes away. Now you're basically paying, when that deduction went away, you're basically paying tax on the money twice. So what was the status?
So $100 out of $100, you're paying, you know, taxes. You're paying federal and you're paying state taxes again.
Right. So basically, let's say, you know, you had $100 and you had $20 in state tax, or I'm sorry, you have $20 in state tax. The federal government would tax you on $80. Now there's federal government's taxing you a whole $100. Now that's obviously very quick and dirty. That's not exact, but it's the general idea. So I mean, here's the thing. You know, the populations of the two states are kind of at equilibrium based upon all the factors that exist. Now we just take and make it less financially feasible to live in this place. So what has to happen? Well, now this looks better than it did before. So not everybody's going to move, but some people are going to move. Now they've just passed new taxes to make it even more uncomfortable to live there. So what do you think is going to happen? I don't know how the politicians don't see this coming. People are going to leave. I mean, why do people stay? Well, you know, I got the Chinese place down the street. My family is here. There's all these reasons why people stay in uncomfortable situations.
Yeah.
But as things pain is the thing that motivates us to move, to do things. And as the pain gets ratcheted up, I mean, they've been shut down now for months and months and months. Look, I've come to this office with crime skyrocketing. So, like, even if you do go out of your house, it's more dangerous than it ever was.
And I tell you what, you add the winter to it now. You're stuck in your house and you have nowhere to go because everything is shut down for whatever reason. Because I guarantee there's going to be a spike at some point. So all of a sudden you're paying taxes on a condominium that's decreasing in value. Okay, you're afraid to go to that one restaurant, you know, that might be open or you know, and then and then you're paying these taxes and it's gonna really intensify. And I think through the winter we're gonna see people really coming over, and they're already coming from New Jersey, from New York, from everything. But
honestly, if the news didn't do such a tremendous job of over embellishing how COVID has affected us down here, the migration would be even more. I just was speaking to someone earlier today from Quebec, and they're like, "How bad's the COVID? What's with the COVID there?" I'm like, you know,
what's up with the COVID,
exactly. And so I was like, well, you know, they've had about 2,400 people die in all of Dade County of the 2.2 million people that live in Dade County, or whatever the number is. I don't have it in front of me. I was looking at it on my phone. You know, as soon as you start to put real numbers to it, lady's like, well, it'd be more dangerous for me to drive to the airport to come down there. And I said, yeah, pretty much, you know, but there's no effort to put it in context. So yes, as bad as it is, as much as you're right, the real estate migration exists, because there's not an effort to take in, because news is not accurately reported, it would probably be even more if all things were equal. And so I agree. You know, you're seeing a lot of pressure for people to move to other places. I have people in Colorado. Now, Colorado, that's, if you want to talk about, you know, the yuppie place to be.
Colorado's bad to live in now? I mean, that doesn't, what issues are they having? I haven't heard that one.
Oh, no, it's huge. All kinds of issues there.
Yeah.
And then moving to, you know, taxes, all sorts of things, moving to Texas. And so, yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing.
Yeah, and then what's gonna What I've been seeing people talk about too is like, all right, well, so if all these people come over here, are they going to turn this into a shithole? You know what I mean? So are we going to have issues?
Oh yeah, well, what's going to happen?
Have an influx, and then they're going to turn this into New York.
They vote to break the place they were at, so they come here and keep voting. That's like, people don't learn from their mistakes. It is what it is. You're dealing with a nation of people that want to do what they want to do. Yeah. And it's the nature of being American. It's what makes us innovative and creative.
So why is Florida so attractive for taxes? I mean, you're just basically
no income tax. I mean, that's a big one.
It's a huge one.
Even our sales tax is lower than most of these places. I mean, I understand these places really beat people over the head with taxes. Now, our real estate taxes are fairly high, but the purchase price of our properties is low. So the real estate taxes are based upon the purchase price of the property.
Yeah.
And
to put in perspective, so I mean, if you're listening to this, you're in some way related to real estate, so you kind of know stuff, So I sincerely doubt that I have like a baker or anything listening to this podcast,
Well, his bakery's on real estate.
That's a good point. But I should have just blanked out right now. What was I saying?
I don't know. Something about the baker. He's saying that if you're listening to this, you're some way involved in real estate.
Yeah, and I blanked out. Let's talk about something else. You got anything else?
I've got a really good one. Speaking about news, you sent me the link the other day. I actually had just seen the story before you sent it to me. Was that the Federal Reserve has moved from saying through 2021 they're going to keep rates low to 2023.
Right. Now, what I'm hearing from banks though, is that they're still going to increase the mortgage rates. Money's going to stay. Fed money's going to stay low. Mortgage rates are going to start inching up, which, again, fine. Did we hit rock bottom with the rates being low? Probably. Is that going to affect demand in some kind of way? Okay. Do we have an excess of demand right now? It's just really not even possible to fill. Yeah. I mean, so we're okay with it with less demand right now,
Potentially. But the reality of it is bankers always say that to me. We'll wait and see. The Federal Reserve has made noises that they're going to be more aggressive than they have been in the past at trying to create inflation. And so
that I've heard too. Even from the banks, I'm hearing that. So what I mean when I'm hearing from the banks is, look, the benefit of being in the business as long as I have that, you could call an owner of a mortgage company. You could call a guy who has an office in a commercial real estate guy who has an office in Wall Street. You could start calling a president of the bank. You could start calling guys that are in the know. People that are best friends with the governor. That type of stuff. So I mean, not best friend, but connections. So you start getting these higher up type opinions, and you're hearing it before it kind of hits the streets. And yeah, they're talking about rates, having to go up a little bit. And but yeah, man, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I forgot to forward my my calls. I'm definitely okay with that.
And I think once again, when folks see that they can sell their place, the thing that we talked about the other day, if you're an agent out there, and the thing I've been pushing agents to do is look for the market that's within your market that's not as hot. And encourage people to sell if they have a $300,000 home. Is that hot? That is magma hot. Sell that sucker and either upgrade or go to a market that's has a little bit more inventory. There's a lot of markets that are really. I mean, the condo market, man, you can have your pick if you wanted to right now. Yeah. If you get up over $1 million, the prices are or the amount of available inventory is significantly more.
Yeah, and it's funny because Miami has always been, I'm not going to say my joke again, but Miami has always been influenced by politics in other countries.
Sure.
This is the first time. I mean, there's, what's that saying that we're only one
revolution away from a real estate
boom. Revolution away from a real estate boom. And that's the truth. I mean, that's what we live in Miami. Like if there's a revolution in Argentina, we're going to have 1 million Argentinians starting to buy real estate here. And it's just really what it is. But for the first time, I'm seeing local politics directly influencing in that, and I know what I was going to say before, just to put in perspective how important these governments, these governors and these mayors are, as far as influencing, real estate and the economy. It's you got to understand that. I mean, it's very clear right now that Florida real estate is really what's holding up our economy. It's what's holding up our Florida economy. You know, it's something like what $90,000 or something like that that's brought into the economy every time there's a closing. There's the construction guys, there's the painters, there's the movers, the real estate guy, the mortgage guy. You know, money. You know, transferring from one place to the other. I mean, there's mobile closers, there's notaries. I mean, there's a lot of stuff involved in it. A lot of stuff involved in it. You know, landscaping. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Home Depot, furniture.
This is the thing to think about. I mean, people want to talk about this bubble that's going to burst, right? Based upon that, if you have some people that need to sell, that bring additional inventory, that's a sale and a purchase that's coming into the market that didn't exist otherwise.
Sure.
So it's actually, as long as the demand persists, and we have such an excess of demand right now, as long as the demand is there, I'm really, really bullish on real estate.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be, and the Federal Reserve. I mean, all this stuff. I mean, we've talked about it a lot, but
does the Federal Reserve have the ability to influence these mortgage companies to keep their rates lower, or not really?
Well,
I mean, you know, the government, you know, we bailed them out and the whole thing, and
there's things they could do. I mean, honestly, they've been flirting with the idea. They are very against it right now, but they've come a long way already in this whole thing of negative interest rates like they have in Germany. And while,
what the fuck does that do? I mean,
well,
how does that even work?
It's the federal funds rate. So they loan the money to the bank, and they pay the bank to basically take the money. And what that does is it basically subsidizes the bank's costs in lending. So like when the bank lends money out, they don't get to keep the full, let's say they rent it to you at 3%. They don't keep the 3%. They got to pay the servicer, the yada, 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 yada. So basically they're saying, hey, look, we need to get this money out into the economy. I'm going to take and pay some of your costs for doing this so that you can now offer this money at a lower rate to people. So it discounts even further the cost to borrow money. And the cost of borrowing.
That's the vehicle for influencing mortgage rates. That's basically how they would do it.
Well, that's the vehicle for adding liquidity to the economy. That's the avenue to say, hey, you know what? I can get this money at 1.5. You know what? I will take the $1 million.
Sure.
You know, I mean,
the money's cheap enough, people will take it.
Absolutely.
And do something with it.
Look, I mean, I took loans from the government thing that we did. And you know what? I mean, everybody's sitting here worried about, they got the picture of the guy that got the Ferrari, the Lamborghini. I wish I was that smart. I dumped every nickel back into the business. I was like, oh, wow, I can do this advertising thing now. It 100% went. I mean, if they just don't understand the general nature of the entrepreneurial spirit, which is, you know, like, I don't know about you, but like your business is like one of your kids.
Sure.
Like you've put so much, like, it's everything, and when you got to let that go.
It's a kid that you've been raising for. I've been raising this kid for 20 years. You know what I mean? So it's
it's got seniority over your other kids.
It probably does. You know, I might love it more. You know, so it's like, man, you know, another thing, the election.
Well, I think
so. We're in an election year. Okay, I've found that real estate slows down a little bit. Right that month, people are kind of like,
well, November too.
November, yeah, but November and election month, you know, it starts slowing down because people naturally are like, well, let's see what's going to happen. You know what I mean? And I think that this year we're so, you know, we're as separated as it's ever been, you know, and people are going to be like, well, you know, if Trump gets elected, I'm going to leave the country. And if Biden gets elected, I'm going to leave the country or this country's ruined and everything like that. So there's going to be a little bit of a halt in that. But then after that, it goes right back to normal.
Well, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see because, I mean, like one of the things that's interesting is after the tax cuts that they did, the actual revenue the next year to the federal government was up, which means despite the fact that they lowered taxes, the amount of income generated that was taxed was greater than what the difference would have been. The government actually took in more money despite the fact that the tax rate was lower. And so that's the reality of things. My only concern really, and you never know, whoever becomes president, whatever, is seeing what happens with taxes. If there is a big tax raise, that can take and put the brakes on things. So whether that's, you know, a Trump presidency or a Biden presidency where that would occur, it doesn't really matter. Taxes are a burden on the economy because that means you have to earn that much more money just to take and stay where you are.
Yeah.
You know, I used to be able to make $100 and have that be enough to do what I needed to do. Now I got to earn 105.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's a burden. That's $5 more that somebody has to come up with.
Yeah. Last election, I saw a meme that, it was like one picture cut in the middle. On one side, it had a kid fishing on a lake, or it was a man fishing on a lake, and it was tranquil lake and everything like that. And he goes, pre-election, and then it had the exact same shit post-election, basically saying, dude, at the end of the day,
Nothing changes.
Nothing's gonna change. You know what I mean? You're not gonna notice it. I don't know if that's the case this year. Dude, I need some water, please. I think I drank way too much coffee today. It wasn't even like a little bit too much coffee.
That ratio was
thirsty. I'm like sweating. I'm grinding my teeth.
Serious.
Yeah,
that's serious. I don't know either. The thing is too, just realize that it's all been so politicized. All of this. I mean, the fact that were able to make COVID a political issue to me is just it's almost like you have a foreign power involved trying to take and destroy.
Thanks, brother.
Destroy a country to try and sow discord amongst the people.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate
it. So it's troubling. But at the same time, it's resulted in a lot of things you're talking about. This migration. I think that you have to take and chalk a lot of this back up to the way that we get our information now.
Well, here's another thing. Another way that politics is directly affecting our local market is our superintendent. Is a little bit of a pussy, right? And he is, you guys are back in school already. Broward's back in school already. Kids are back in school from what I understand, or you're about to start school. Our guys kind of holding back, and he was basically saying we might not even have school the whole year. Now he's starting to change his tune, and he just got in hot water now.
Well, yeah, no, I have a good friend that's a high school teacher, and he's saying that Dade was actually pushing to get back to school before Broward now because
really?
Dade
had in hot water now with that other bullshit.
Dade had this whole plan. Again, central planning geniuses. Mm-hmm. They had this whole plan and system they were going to use. They went to use, and it just failed miserably. Just a complete implosion, complete garbage. Yep. And Broward is actually doing kind of okay, but they're trying to get back to school, I think, in the next couple of weeks. But Dade's trying to, now that that's so screwed up, now they're trying to get,
so it's not only that the software, just so you know how crazy it is, it's not only that the software is not working correctly, it's that the superintendent, they're investigating him now because the software, it's a $15 million software. Mm-hmm. Supposedly, what is it? What's not supposedly? What's the word I'm supposed? Allegedly. He took some kind of kickback for it to be able to, because there was no bidding. They didn't use the bidding. He just went with that one, and now all of a sudden money magically appeared in his nonprofit organization or anything like that.
A corrupt politician in Miami-Dade.
Never heard of it. Yeah.
That you got to be making that. That could never happen.
So, so now kids not going back to school for a longer period of time or going back to school is going to directly affect not only our economy, but it's going to affect real estate. At the end of the day, man, I don't know any household that has kids that's not interrupted. I got my wife at home and, she has to take care of the kids in the morning and stay with them in school because they're still little, 9 and 7, technically, they're, if I were to leave them alone, nothing would get done, so does that affect? So in my particular household, it doesn't really affect me. Like, it's not like I would need, her income or anything to that effect. But there's a lot of households that need both incomes, and they need the fucking kids in school because they need to be able to go out there and work and pick them up at 5 after school or whatever the case is, So, again, local politics directly, severely affecting,
just throw on top of that all the aftercare business, all the daycare businesses,
everything.
This is
martial arts schools. That before, you drop them off in karate after school. You can't really. You got martial arts schools that people are, kids are training with masks on and stuff like that. You can't do that. In a city I used to live in, I'm still a neighboring city. Now you got to play tennis in the sun with a mask on. Right. So doesn't matter that it's the person's over there. Doesn't matter that you're out in the sun. Doesn't matter that you can't fucking breathe. You got to wear a mask while you play tennis. That just came out a couple days ago. So, man, it's kind of a...
Look, but again, the reason why the U.S., they want to sit there and say, the U.S., we're so bad at handling. The reason why we have the response we do is exactly what you're talking about. It pisses us off. It frustrates. And we say, I'm going to make him catch me doing it. I'm just going to do it. Unfortunately, whatever you want to say about Americans, it's how we are. You give us the rules, we try to figure out a way around it. We don't want to do it. We get mad. It's not like other parts of the world. Oh, okay, that's the rule. The cup can't be on the table. Oh, okay, no problem.
Yeah.
I'm like, why can't the cup be on the table?
Yeah, well,
it's the perfect place for a cup.
Well, that's why America's America.
It is. It's in the nature. Look, and for better or worse, it's part of the makeup that makes up a nation of people that basically came together from all sorts of other places to come someplace else to try something new.
Right, but here's the thing, though. The ones that come in fresh, they still have the mentality. Yeah, they come because they don't like the mentality, but they still have it in them to take the bullshit. You know what I'm saying?
Sometimes.
And
the old country folk.
And it allows us to be in the situation that we're in.
No, I mean, that's so frustrating. I mean, it's so frustrating. I mean, I read the article the other day on the German, I think I told you, the German study. They found that you're actually highly unlikely to get COVID on an airplane. And it's like, although I told you how to take and beat that whole situation of being sardine canned.
How?
Flight Delta.
Oh, yeah.
They keep the middle seats empty.
Yeah.
So literally when you have a seat in the back, the only two people. It's like first class with a narrow seat.
Definitely next time I fly, I'm gonna try to do that, because if I sit in the middle, dude, it's just really it's almost impossible.
No, I have that similar problem. I mean, while you're taller than me, we both have a width issue, and so it's kind of like to grab each elbow and sit there like this. Yeah. And when you're flying a direct to Los Angeles or something like that, it's like this is such a poor life choice. Yeah, and I definitely have had that mistake happen before. I think that what you're going to see, truthfully, is a lot of this is going to calm down. The people that haven't moved are the ones that are the cooler heads that are waiting to see how this kind of shakes out. I think a lot of the volume is going to get turned down on COVID after the election. I think they found that as a good issue they can take and try to needle the various political leaders with it. Yeah. On both sides. One side's pointing to the governors, the other side, everybody else is pointing to the president. It is what it is. Everybody's doing the same thing to each other, right? I think when it calms down, we'll kind of have a chance then to see where we are. So we got another less than 60 days. It's like 45 days or something like that. 50 days. Yeah, I mean, the election season hasn't been that crazy, and it's not as many events, not as much, whatever. I think really if there's anything that I'd like to put out there into the ether to our millions of fans, it's that taking a step back and take the 30,000 foot view as opposed to the right up in it view, and just look at everything that's going on, and try to find balance between all of it, because we live best when we experience balance, I think. Yeah. And so,
all right, man, we'll make this a short one. All right, guys, go on Instagram, Real Estate Podcast. Comment, give us any ideas. And one of the things we'll start doing, Cadillac, is definitely start looking at these current events. We should do maybe once a week, or once every couple of weeks, where we just go in and get these real estate current events, start talking about them. Basically, what we addressed is one today, so we start organizing those things together, and any ideas you guys send over.
Sure.
What I mean? So, all right, guys, episode 20. All right, cool. Thank you.